got a little stage fright, I got to admit, because, you know, my last public appearance was at my 40th birthday. It was at 2 o'clock in the morning. I guess I was a little bit indisposed. Half of the people left. And I got to tell you, it was a sympathetic audience, you know, my birthday. Hopefully you're not leaving, but you're probably wondering what a politician is actually doing here. Well, for one, I'm here to fight a few stereotypes. You know, none other but the Prime Minister of Great Britain, David Cameron, in his TED appearance, said that politics is showbiz for very, very ugly people. But on a more serious note, I'm here to talk about the European Union. Boring subject, probably for most of you. By the way, after listening to Rabbi Shudrek, I think that our greatest achievement in Poland is that we have actually become, after so many years, a boring country, finally. But I'm here to talk about the European Union and two stereotypes. One being that it's no longer relevant in the world, that we can forget about it. I mean, you know, we think about the European Union now today, crisis, you know, sclerotic, not interesting. You know, even in 2004, we in Poland were excited about it. You know, I can attest to it with a number of students who were actually attending my classes then and now. Now we take it for granted. And second stereotype is that it doesn't actually relate to our lives. Well, both are wrong. First of all, look at population. Basically, if you take all the European countries together, we are third in the world. This is a power to be reckoned with. Whatever you actually think, guys, trade, for example. 20% of trade is generated by the European Union. Think about 100 biggest companies in the world. And, you know, we get excited about rising powers. We get excited about China, India, Brazil. How many companies in the world, 100 biggest, are Brazilian? 1 Indian, 1 Chinese, 3. The biggest companies are American, 33 in the world, and European, 37. If you think about wealth, we generate actually 1/4 of wealth in the world still. If you think about life expectancy, we live the longest. And if we are going to go on diet, and I guess some of us, me included, need it, we're going to live in even longer. Research and development, education, clean environment, green energy, cultural influence, we're on top of the world. One of the companies actually sponsoring this event, as I've just discovered, is British Council. You know in how many countries it's actually having its offices? 120. Alliance Française is better, but still, you know, it's pretty impressive. Alliance Française, 140 countries. Goethe Institute, 70 countries in the world. We are really a cultural power when it comes to our influence to be reckoned with. A think tank, you know, I used to be a think tanker, I have to tell you, and an academic teacher. You know, I went in this pyramid of social prestige from the top to the rock bottom as a politician, you know. I guess only a used car salesman is below me, and I'm now doing this pitch as if I was selling something. So they were doing a global presence index. Okay, US is first, but then Germany, France, UK, when it comes to military presence, when it comes to all the things that I was talking about, trade, wealth, and so on and so forth. Austria accepts twice more immigrants than Brazil, even though it's 20 times smaller. Denmark has the largest service sector than Russia. Tiny Slovenia wins 3 times more medals in international competitions than India. Luxembourg, 300,000 inhabitants, sends as many soldiers to peacekeeping missions as China. Greece publishes more scientific research than South Africa. And we get excited about those, you know, rising powers. Who is trade partner number 1 for America? European Union. For Brazil, European Union. For Russia, European Union. And even when you ask about India and China, the answer is still the same. We talk about bureaucracy, you know, this terrible European bureaucracy. I mean, if you look at a federal state, and basically now the European Union is fulfilling basically the same role, and I took military, post, health, outside, they actually have 1 million people employed. Look at Germany or Italy, 300,000. How many in the European Union? 34,000 guys employed by the European Union. You might not like this bureaucracy, but it's tiny and pretty effective. Look at EU budget. People say we waste money, we spend too much money actually right now, especially in times of austerity. 140 billion euros every year. You know how much is that? It's like every European drinking a cup of coffee every day. That's not much. If you compare it to an American budget, yearly budget, federal, again, I've taken out, military expenditure, post offices, everything that the European Union doesn't do. It's 8 times bigger. 8 times bigger, guys. EU and you. I mean, this is the thing that we sometimes forget about the European Union. We think, this is like foreign policy, not interesting. But most of the decisions actually that have influence over our daily lives are now made there, not here. And that's why you, even though you probably think it's boring and probably half of you are asleep by now, you should actually get interested, because your future, your destiny, slowly but surely, is also decided in the European Union and also by the European Parliament. Some of us actually work there. Consumer rights, what you eat, safe products, cheaper payments between countries, passport, Erasmus. I'm 40 years old, and when I was studying, you had to do a lot to actually go abroad and study, get a scholarship. Now my students have to do everything they can not to get a scholarship. That's the change that the European Union brought us. Dangerous airlines on blacklists, clear pricing of airline tickets. I mean, the fact that we can finally, move and pay not that much money for it, that's again, has been brought about by the European Union, passenger rights as well. Single market, prices are cheaper by 20%. Whatever you might think about this dreadful union, actually the prices have been brought down. Roaming charges. You're on vacation, you can call your mama, finally, because it's cheap. It doesn't cost as much as it used to. And if you don't believe it, go to Croatia, which still is not in the European Union, and compare the prices. Monopolies, we're slowly, back on the spot. Monopolies, again, we're getting rid of them, and the prices are going down. And I could go on and on and on, fight against money laundering, arrest warrants, border guards, recycling, a huge success for the European Union. Without the European Union, it wouldn't be recycling too much, and I can tell you because I've seen some debates between countries on recycling. They're not too happy about it, some of them. Unfortunately, Poland included, don't quote me on that. Recognition on professional qualifications, freedom to provide services, paternity leave, very important, okay? My wife's probably watching it, so I gotta skip it quickly. Cleaner water, EU monitors 570 swimming pools, beaches, whatever have you. I mean, imagine lying on a beach, your kids playing with toys, it's toy safety, there is clean water, you can call your mama, as I said. Everything's regulated by the European Union now. Vaccination against blue tongue, yeah, sometimes we do crazy stuff as well in Brussels. If you look at a sitting of a Polish government, half of what those guys, my colleagues, do is European law. And if you think about national parliament, it's basically the same. So we are now in the business of actually translating European laws into national laws, more and more. The action is really happening there, even though the press is just telling you about those guys who earn too much money, huge bureaucracy, and so on and so forth. Some of it might be true, but I submit to you, you shouldn't be focusing on that too much. You should be focusing on the real decisions which are being taken there with the participation of this terrible, dreadful European Parliament, which now has equal rights and actually co-decides with member states more and more on every issue. Every issue that I've mentioned, those guys, me included, take decisions, important decisions, and those terrible parliamentarians actually seriously depend on you. I was there not to do any, political haggling, so I'll leave it at that. And what about Poles and our position in the European Union now? I mean, I'll submit to you that it's changing so quickly that it has never been changing so quickly, that the stereotype of a Pole has changed so much in the past 10 years that you couldn't believe it. And, you probably think that, it's cheap political propaganda, but I seriously think that we really, for the first time in our history, have a certain influence over our destiny. Because whatever topic you touch, Poles are in there, taking active decisions, building coalitions. We have people in important places. People listen to us. I mean, for years we were disregarded. People were not interested in what Poles think. There were some stereotypes. If you were to read foreign press 10 years ago, Poland was never mentioned. unless there was, elections or something happened to Valencia. Now, any topic you touch in El País, El Mundo, you take French newspapers, you take Financial Times, Poland is mentioned all the time because we are important. People want to learn what is, our mindset. And what do they tell me? They tell me we are different because we are full of energy, because we think out of the box, because we are flexible, because we are different. Yes, sometimes it's difficult to work with us because we don't follow patterns, we cut corners. Advantage and sometimes a disadvantage, but it works. And really, you go to Switzerland and people tell you, I was in Warsaw. It's such a dynamic, vibrant place, unbelievable. I'll tell you one thing. After this terrible tragedy that we had in Smolensk, we were all thinking what to do about it. And our commissioner in the European Union, Lewandowski, said, we have to lower the flags, before the commission building. And they told him, impossible, it's Sunday, 3 days. Protocols have to think to each other and to talk to each other for like 3 days. And he said, give me a number of the guy who's responsible for it, Jose Fernandez. Give me a guy of Barroso, the commission president. And he called commission president and told him, do it. And he said, impossible, protocols, blah, blah, blah. Call Fernandez and tell him to do it. He called Fernandez. Fernandez receives first phone call for the president of the European Commission. Boom, all the flags go down. Other people couldn't do it. We had a suicide guy on the building of the European Parliament. They had best police negotiators. Who brought him down? Jerzy Buzek. He went up, he canceled all his meetings, he talked to him, and actually then he helped him because it was a Romanian immigrant. That's who we are, guys. And we can have some complexes and so on and so forth. Yes, we do. But basically, we are different and we have to use it to our advantage. Dziękuję bardzo, a jeżeli Państwo chcecie kontynuować to kiedyś pytaniami i dialogiem, to zapraszam na Facebook.